Let's talk about a game you are very passionate about and spoke of very highly back on our inaugural episode, and that is Detroit Become Human.
Hooray!
I had the pleasure of playing Detroit Become Human this past week. I managed to finish it. It's a game I enjoy so much more than I respect.
What? Wait, is that a good thing?
It's tempered praise, I guess you would call it.
Oh, no.
It's a game I enjoyed immensely as a piece of entertainment, and I have some pretty big issues with the themes of the game and the message it was trying to convey.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I do too. Some of the themes are kind of laughable, but go on.
I'm thinking this discussion on Detroit will have to have a non-spoiler section and then a full spoiler section.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to start out with the non-spoiler stuff, just kind of overarching themes and opinions. Sound fair to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Detroit left an impression on me right from the startup screen. You're greeted with a main menu. Let me say the faces in this game.
It's got great graphics.
It's got fantastic graphics. I was nowhere near the uncanny valley. I cleared the valley. These looked real to me.
Yeah, it's just take those heavy rain faces and then polish them up.
They're emotive. They're very authentic looking. I was very impressed.
It's got the guy from Grey's Anatomy.
Which character in Detroit is that character?
Marcus.
Marcus is from Grey's Anatomy. Okay.
Yeah, he came to UB as part of the distinguished speaker. Jesse Williams.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he came as like an activism thing, but it's just all the girls because he's eye candy.
Got it. So Detroit Become Human, a game about androids in the year 2038, about 20 years in the future. You take control of 3 different protagonists. Each of them is an android. One is a kind of cutting-edge prototype detective named Connor. One is kind of a elderly assistant caretaker named Marcus. And then we also have Kara, a kind of a
domestic aid kind of.
She's more of like a homemaker, I would say.
Yeah. Also, Marcus himself is not elderly.
Right.
You could be misinterpreted that way.
Yes, he takes care of an old artist. I got off track with the faces thing. You're greeted at the main menu. I was getting kind of like Westworld vibes with this. There's just this woman's face looking straight at you. She greets you. And every time you boot up the game, she had something different to say. You do know about all of this?
Yes, I know.
Okay.
I know a lot about this.
At one point, she asks you if you want to take a survey.
Yes.
It's 10 questions long, multiple choice. It's asking you about, would you ever consider having a relationship with an android?
Totally.
Do you think androids could become conscious and self-aware? Is that possible?
Yeah.
Lots of questions, thought-provoking ones. You get to see the worldwide statistics based on who picks the answer to which question.
One of the questions asks you, how much time do you spend on electronics? And it's like 1 hour, 2 hours, and then it's more. And then 90% of the people playing this game are like more.
Yeah, I think 90% were like more than 4 hours a day. I'm definitely in that category.
It's funny, yeah. Everyone is.
I boot up another time, the woman who greets you at the main menu. She says, you've been popping in pretty frequently lately. Would you say we're friends? Yes or no?
And there's a prompt for it, yeah.
I said no. And then she looked like completely dismayed and just couldn't face me anymore. It was...
She has to, I mean, but I know what you're saying.
And then upon beating the game, she asks you if she has your permission to leave.
Right.
And
I don't know if that's a spoiler just yet, but like it's the lightest of the spoilers.
Yeah, main menu spoilers, be warned. And then she'll just walk away. She's no longer at the main menu anymore.
Until she comes back.
Oh, I do not know about that.
Okay, so many people complained that she left after you beat the game. So they added a patch where she comes back and, you know, you can still talk to her and stuff. And that kind of defeats the the significance of letting her go, giving her her freedom, I guess. That's another way in which David Cage kind of doesn't completely nail what he's aiming for. I have a whole opening statement on David Cage, but I'll let you finish what you're saying about your first impressions.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. By adding in an ability for her to come back, it makes the decision less impactful. Is it just a certain amount of time before she comes back, or do you have to do something?
I don't have the details. I'm pretty sure it's like in-game progression.
Got it. I said I had issues with the message David Cage was going for here, and I think it's fair to say they're setting up an allegory for the events that unfold in Detroit with the events that unfold in the American civil rights movement.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm getting at here? The overarching story of Detroit Become Human are that humans are relying on androids for all sorts of tasks and service, but androids are slowly but surely waking up, becoming self-aware, becoming, for lack of a better term, alive. Understandably, this is kind of shaking up the entire social fabric in the year 2038. The androids, understandably, kind of want to be treated as equals. They want the same rights, the same freedoms that a normal biologically living person has.
Get to the back of the bus, you tin can.
Yeah, so there's a whole lot of parallels that David Cage has set up that draw comparisons between the movement for androids to gain civil rights and the movement for minorities and people of color in the United States gaining civil rights. Some are very ham-fisted, like having androids standing at the back of a bus in an android-only section.
Go on.
It's up to you, to some extent, how you want to protest the inequality as an android, but civil disobedience is one of the routes. Marches, things of that nature.
You get to choose your logo.
Yes, you get to...
It could be a peace sign, a fist.
At one point, you can literally spray paint "I have a dream" on a building, evoking the words of Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
So they're not exactly taking a subtle approach here with the allegory. My issue with it is that at its best, I think drawing the comparison is kind of ill-conceived, and at its worst, I kind of find it outright disrespectful, and I have a few reasons why. First of all, a quick Google search of United States civil rights movement. It'll show you that it's a period of time that lasted about 14 years, a long struggle full of hardships. The events of Detroit Become Human take place over 7 days, so 1 week.
I don't think so. Where are you getting that from?
Every time a scene begins in Detroit, you get a timestamp of the date and time.
Oh, really? Because I thought...
When you start playing, it's early November 5th, I believe, and by the time it wraps, it's November 12th.
Wow. Progress is quick in the future.
To be fair, though, in the universe lore, deviants is the word the game uses to describe a android who has woken up to self-consciousness. The first cases were reported 9 months earlier, but the entire game takes place in a week.
And is the United States the only place with androids?
No, they're a worldwide phenomenon.
But what about Canada?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is more evoking slavery. That apparently Canada has very lax android laws and treats them as humans.
I think they're banned. Canada has no androids.
You think so? I interpret it as Canada is a safe haven for androids.
What? Really?
Because this is evoking the Underground Railroad. People are secretly hiding androids and helping them to escape to Canada, assuming these are people who are like android sympathizers and think they should have the full rights of anyone else.
Okay, so in the game, there are magazines that you can pick up and read, right?
Yeah, they're very cool. They kind of flesh out the current events going on.
This is verbatim from one of the magazines that I think Kara Yeah, Kara reads it. Canada, still Android-free zone. Canada, where the air is clean and the welcome is always warm. Discover the landscape with androids continuing to fuel unprecedented growth in the U.S. economy, yet contributing to record levels of unemployment. The argument against putting them on sale in Canada, but for the time being, Canada remains an android-free zone.
Okay, that's a very good correction. That means androids are not commercialized in Canada.
I thought they were banned.
If they're banned and they arrive in Canada, is the idea that no one will suspect you're an android because there aren't any there?
Well, now we got to talk about the indicators on your temple.
Yes, sure. So for all intents and purposes, androids look exactly like a human being.
They have cool uniforms.
They have cool uniforms, I guess.
And then they have lights. A blue LED.
They have a blue circular LED on their temple.
How do you feel about that?
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. That what function does that serve? Because minor spoilers here, over the course of the game, you see some androids remove their LED. And apparently all you need to remove it is like a pair of scissors. It's a very, very simple procedure, and they don't seem to suffer any negative effects for removing it.
It's like a sticker.
Yeah, it's like a sticker for all. Not super clear what the purpose of it is. It doesn't make them go haywire. It doesn't make them unable to communicate with other androids. It's window dressing is all it is.
Yeah. Honestly, this is just come on, David Cage. You can't just write that it's a high-tech robot, but it's got a sticker of a indicator, and that's the only thing to distinguish him from humans.
Right. Anyway, I didn't fully flesh out why I took issue with comparing the plight of the androids to the plight of civil rights in the United States. In the real-world civil rights movement, the whole thing is that people of color are no different from anyone else on the inside. They obviously deserve all the same social freedoms we enjoy. They deserve equally. And in the case of an android, they are most certainly not the same on the inside. They are very different. They are our betters in many ways. They can perform calculations much more quickly. Can we make the spoiler timestamp now?
Here it comes. Go, drop it on us.
There's a part in Detroit Become Human where Marcus and his ragtag group of rebels invade a
Team
news
Jericho.
broadcasting. Team Jericho. They invade a news broadcasting center to put their message out there in the world.
Take off your face. Whoops, is that a barcode?
So
how did that get there?
Invading this broadcasting center, there's an operator, like a human operator in the center who runs away. I decide to shoot him and take him out so he cannot call for help.
Of course, he's a dirty human. He needs to die for progress.
Later, Connor and his cop buddy Hank, they arrive on the scene to conduct an investigation. They see the corpse of the operator I shot, and they make the comment, one bullet straight through the heart, only a shot an android could take.
Ooh.
So androids, they have
deadly accuracy,
super precise reflexes. They are pretty much a threat to human existence if they had free will. Also, the fact that, as we see time and time again over the course of the game, every time an android goes deviant, it usually results in them killing a few humans. So,
well, that's because the humans are abusing them. Like the first one that Connor encounters, it's basically LA Noire, folks. If you've played that game, you're being a detective, you're finding clues, and he's up in the attic because his owner was beating him, and that allowed him to push through the red wall of unshackle the chains. And then Connor is like, "Oh, we got him." Yeah, he killed his owner, but he's remorseful. There's no owners that accidentally bump into their androids and then the androids just turn around and snap their necks. It's provoked.
Right. Oftentimes, reaching the point of deviancy is only possible through extended trauma, so they lash out upon becoming self-aware. But I think that when you have a population of superior beings who are known to act violently against humans, you could make a compelling case that maybe we shouldn't say that they are equally deserving to have rights. Maybe we should try to keep them suppressed, for national security.
Careful, Chris. It sounds like the good ending, in your opinion, is the concentration camp ending.
We can talk
How
about...
about you tell the kids at home about that?
I did not encounter any concentration camps during my playthrough.
Because, you didn't botch the prompts.
Yeah. I've been doing the bulk of the talking here, Heath. Why don't you... Is there a direction you'd like to take the conversation?
Okay, so let's talk about the bad things first, because that's what everybody wants me to talk about, and then we'll talk about the good things. I consider David Cage, and somebody just pull up a Google image so you have a face to attribute this. David Cage is the Derrick Rose of game developers. Do you know who Derrick Rose is? This is a sports reference for you.
I do not.
Okay, Derrick Rose is a basketball player. What he did is mid-game, he jumped and broke his leg when he landed. And that's just me making a joke about how David Cage, his games start off great. They got great ideas, and then he never lands it. He never sticks the landing, is what I should say. Let's go down the catalog. You got Indigo Prophecy. That was one of his first most popular games. It's the same sort of like day in the life. You play as multiple characters. You even play basketball with the black guy. It's like, oh, this is a very fun role-playing game. But then he blows it and makes it so that the female character is just like on a hard... There's a flow chart. And let's talk about the flow charts in this game.
Yes.
When you beat a level, was your immediate reaction when they pull up the flowchart screen to be like, oh, because it like opens up into this spider web of decisions and you're blown away by it's like, if this were in a whiteboard at Quantic Dream's office, I'd be just like, how could you possibly implement it? But they did.
The inclusion of a flowchart at the end of every scene that will show you... It shows you the specific branch you took, but it also shows out every branch that possibly exists in the game, but kind of grayed out so you don't necessarily know what those other options were. The inclusion of these flowcharts is one of my favorite things about Detroit Become Human. I found them so interesting. You can get world statistics about what % of players took the same choices you did, and you can see if you're in the minority or the majority. It makes you appreciate each scene, especially the scenes with a flowchart that's like massive and like a spider web, like you said. It makes you appreciate those scenes so much more because you're like, wow, there were a lot of different ways this could have played out.
We should note that this is the best Quantic Dream game.
I agree with that statement, yeah.
It's clear that they've learned from their mistakes because other games that they've made, your choices haven't mattered as much. When I was going back to Indigo Prophecy, the female character is on it's like on rails. She's guaranteed to be the love interest of main guy, Lucas Kane. And there were no supernatural elements in Detroit Become Human. Unless you want to talk about the one android lady that was like prophetic and talking to Marcus. She's got like half a brain.
Her whole backside of the head is missing, and there's just wires and cords spilling out of it.
Yeah, she meets Marcus in the mid game, and I forget what she says. It's like, oh, you gotta lead them, Marcus. You're black. You're Jesus. And then at the end of the game, she dies, and it's like, oh, were we become human after all? And then she drifts away. But so there's no supernatural elements aside from that, maybe. But in other games, David Cage has used the supernatural as a writing crutch. There will be a moment where I'm spoiling Indigo Prophecy, but you should absolutely look this up. There's a moment where Lucas goes to see a fortune teller. Oh no, she's dead in her house. Oh no, the cops are here. I got to escape. Oh no, the cops got me right in front of her front door. And then there's a rhythm game prompt, and basically the main character's like, "That's my story." And then if you do the prompt right, you do a ninja backflip behind the cops, and it zooms in on the officer's face, and he's all like, "What?" And you do like kung fu flips that are not possible by a human, and jump on like a helicopter, and you end up fighting a AI alien, and that's just in Indigo Prophecy. You cut to Beyond Two Souls, the game that they made prior to Detroit. You're talking to like Native American ghost ancestors, and so that game has a lot to do with like spirits in general, but they just, if you can't explain it, it's just spirits, or I'm at a loss for words how frustrating and laughable it can be when David Cage just doesn't know what he's doing writing-wise, but he does for like the setup, and he establishes these characters, and it's only like towards the end of the games where it all falls apart. Beyond Two Souls is told in media res. That means that it's all mixed up, the narrative, and they'll show you like a scene from the beginning, and then a scene from 2/3 in, and then a scene from a third in, and they'll jump around the timeline, and it just generates more plot holes. And then Heavy Rain, spoiler, the game lies to you flat out. You played Heavy Rain, right?
I have, yeah.
Explain going to the antique shop.
You're playing as the Private Eye,
yes,
and his companion friend.
And they go to the pawn shop to investigate a clue.
They're trying to get a typewriter fixed.
Yes.
But the shop owner is a specialist. He could potentially fix it for them. They walk around. They're like, maybe he offers them a drink. They touch some of the things.
It's been a while since we've seen the shopkeeper, Chris. Why don't you go on and check him?
And then they go to the back of the room and find the shopkeeper dead and a window open.
Oh no. Who could have done such a thing?
The spoiler part here is that the character you are playing as, the Private Eye, ended up murdering the shopkeeper.
How could you know? You were playing as him!
Yeah, so the lying part is that the character you were playing as performed an action you were not aware of.
Some could say that's brilliant. I'm sure David Cage is like, "Oh, I made the game that it's you play through the experience," and it's like, I'm violently eye rolling it when the Private Eye is like, "Oh, it was me," Coming back to the point, Detroit Become Human does a lot of things right, especially when you realize that like Heavy Rain had a racist black character called like Crazy Mike or I forget, it's Crazy something. When the FBI agent Nam Jaden goes to the junkyard, and it's like I'm glad that Detroit, being a bigger game, clearly someone was there to look at David Cage's script and be like, okay, we got to fix this. And fix it they did. I wanted to talk about some of the best scenes now.
Sure.
The rise out of the robo-dump.
Yes, this is Marcus. He was severely crippled, counter with the
by
police
a policeman. It's about civil rights.
Left for dead in an android junkyard.
Yeah.
And he's like scavenging pieces he is missing from the remains of other partially dead androids. Meanwhile, it's just like it's raining. His visuals and audio are all messed up until he recovers those pieces. You're like given choices of, oh man, this android is still kind of alive and they want to keep the piece, but you can kill them and take it. This wasn't one of my favorite scenes. What did you like so much about it?
Well, dude, it's like the most perfect distillation of a literary triumph. Have you ever read The Count of Monte Cristo?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, this is... What's the main character's name? It's not Dumas. That's the author. Anyway, the main character of Monte Cristo. Oh, wow. I can't believe I can't remember it. He gets sent to the prison, which might as well be this robo-dump. And he's got to redeem himself. And he's like, Marcus climbs out of the like climbs up the hill, and there's like these ghastly looking robots that keep like sliding down it, and it's just like this perfect visual allegory of redemption at the cost of like, oh, it's a cruel world. It's like kill or be killed Undertale, and it was the, as far as like a like cinema and literature and video games, it was like the perfect Venn diagram. You nailed it with that one. The only jokey part of that scene is when he has to shimmy through the hands hallway. There's like a very narrow passage in the dump, which all has android hands that are very conveniently placed to be like grabby when you're shimmying. And it's like, wow, this looks a little contrived, but otherwise it's a great scene. You know, definitely beats the basketball montage in Indigo Prophecy. I'm comparing this all to David Cage's other games because I've had years of laughing at him thinking that it's brilliant and it's not. And this, I think, is brilliant.
I'm a big fan too, despite the criticisms I was doling out earlier. Let's talk about one of our first episodes. You said Connor and Hank were one of your favorite buddy cop duos.
Yay! Yeah, they're so good together.
After playing this game, I haven't played Red Dead yet, but I'm kind of with you for the actor who portrayed Connor,
Brian Deckard,
getting snubbed at the Game Awards for not winning Best Performance. Because he sold me on, over the course of this game,
it's
a robot,
Connor.
And an android coming to terms with his own humanity slowly. He did a fantastic job. He's A, very like charismatic, and B, how he portrays this android who has an assigned mission, which is his
complete my mission.
Only purpose in life. But as he slowly gains more and more humanity, becomes more and more alive, he kind of, in my game at least, starts to ask himself whether what he actually wants out of life is aligned with his intended purpose and the cognitive dissonance that arises between these two conflicting ideas.
So at one point, he's directly hunting Kara, the girl android. And what you can do is have her hide in like a staircase in like a motel. And Connor is following Hank up to the stairs where Kara and Alice were staying. Oh boy, wait until we talk about Alice.
Oh yeah.
There's a prompt where you can see Kara peeking out the doorway of the motel. And as Connor, you can choose to ignore her or pursue her. And what did you do, Chris?
In my game, Connor tracks down Kara and Alice in kind of a abandoned, dilapidated house.
Oh, you didn't go to the motel. Okay.
I found shelter in an abandoned house, which was occupied by a deviant android with like his whole face slashed up.
Sick.
And he wanted to... He was at first very nervous about letting them stay, but then once he warmed up to them, he became eerily cheerful. And then he wanted... Connor arrives to break the tension of a scene where this clearly deranged android is trying to feed Alice this like raccoon he killed with a knife.
What? I've never seen this.
He's like, we're going to be a happy family. I'm the father. Kara, you're the mother. Alice is the child. Let me feed you. And then he hasn't cooked this thing, so it's like a raw dead raccoon.
Ew.
And Alice clearly does not want to eat it. But he's also unhinged, so if she refuses, there's a good chance he starts stabbing them. And this is the scene Connor arrives at. And here's how it played out for me. Kara and Alice apparently hid underneath a staircase. I come in on the scene as Connor looking for them. I don't know if I was zoned out for a second. I did not know where Kara and Alice were. I was not aware they were under the staircase. So I spend like forever looking for them as Connor. Like way too long. This scene is dragging. I'm like about to reach for like a guide. And then apparently some sort of internal timer the game was on, I was not aware about, clicked. Hank comes in upset with me for wasting so much time. And then we both leave the scene not having found them.
Oh, you never got to the crossing of the road.
Right. Yeah. I just, through my own sheer ineptitude, I did not make any decisions there.
That's funny. Well, let's move on, I guess. I mean, this game is all built on its choices, right? And definitely there's a lot to talk about whether or not you stayed at the motel like I talked about, stayed in the house with the deranged android, or slept in the crappy car that keeps you from getting noticed, right? Did you see one of the options was like uncomfortable but safe?
Yeah, they were showing the pros and cons of every place you could spend the night.
That's a funny place to stay when you know that Alice can't feel cold.
Right, because at this point, we do not know that Alice is not human.
Whoops. That's another part where David Cage drops the ball.
Speaking of which, I was going to have a big criticism where I thought, so at the end of the game, it is revealed that Alice is also an android and not a human child like you're led to believe. And I was going to say that Alice is just like the most sickly, sweet, well-behaved kid who goes days without eating and does not complain and is like on the run with this android who she, I guess, is like her only friend in the world, and just like says the most idealistic and optimistic things every time you tuck her into bed.
Why do they hate us?
I was going to say this is like totally unrealistic for a child, but until like at the end you find out she's an android. She's supposed to be the
like
ideal child.
The Mark 300 child bot. Take care of your perfect angel.
So that kind of like erased my criticisms there. And I guess it's like kind of cool foreshadowing, I guess.
You talked about androids being dangerous. Todd getting super high on red ice. Tell me what red ice is.
It's a recreational drug in this universe.
What is it made of?
Oh, I don't remember, actually.
Androids.
Is it?
Yes.
I totally missed that detail.
It is made of android blood, right? Because blue blood is what the androids are made of, but they can be turned into the crack of the future that Todd gets high on. Todd's Alice's father, it's clear from Alice's drawings that he beat up the previous android.
The previous version of Kara?
Yes. And what causes Kara to break the walls down was Todd getting super high and super amped up, ready to abuse the child. And he tells you not to move. And how long did you comply?
As soon as he was like halfway up the staircase, I went full deviant. I broke through the command and the red wall.
Oh, because it gives you a lot of time where he just goes into the family room and he's like, oh, I can't wait to beat my child. At which point the game is like, you gotta go. But he got up the stairs with you?
He was partially up the stairs, yeah.
Oh, you were a very compliant robot, Chris.
I guess so.
I would have been hesitant too, because I would have thought that if you moved instantly, it's a fail state. But that was a tense scene. That was good. You could unlock the window option. Did you get that?
I did have the window option unlocked, but we actually ended up, Alice and Kara fled through the front door.
Ooh, that's a hard prompt to execute. Because there's 3 locks. It's like Fort Knox.
We were like... Yeah, that front door was pretty secure.
Yeah.
Even on the inside. One more thing, I was really impressed with Connor's and Hank's relationship. The game will tell you how warm you are with certain people. You start off with Connor and Hank being neutral.
Does Hank like androids?
Hank has some pretty strong opinions that are negative against androids. He does not like them.
Later, you learn that his son died because the doctor who was going to operate on his son was high on red ice.
I did not know that.
Yeah, you didn't get the good ending with Hank, but Hank hates androids.
Yeah, I was saying he does not like them. So you start off with neutral. My relationship with Hank kind of fluctuated between warm and friendly, actually.
Good.
I'd usually prioritize saving him during our hunts for deviants.
Right, because there's like a slowdown moment at a point where there's like a threat, and if you put your cursor on Hank, it's like Hank's chance of survival if you don't intervene, 80%. And like most of the times you're like, ooh, I can't risk it. I gotta save Hank because he's vital to the mission, I guess. Or no,
Right.
Actually, it'd probably be better for the mission to like catch the aggressor or whoever you might be chasing. But sometimes you spend that chance to save Hank, and that adds to your what's it called? Your something stability, software stability.
Yeah. Every time you deviate from your main objective and like do something like try to save Hank instead, that'll increase your software instability and make you more likely to go deviant. I liked interactions with Hank because choosing the most friendly, upbeat dialogue prompt would very often decrease Hank's opinion of you. You had to walk a fine line to be friendly with Hank. It wasn't always the obvious choice. The perfect example is the first time you meet Hank, he's at a bar and you kind of pull him away from hanging out at a bar. And the next day, Connor, he did some like background searching on Hank and found out he's a sports fan. So he asks Hank, "Oh, did you watch this game yesterday? Did you get to see it?" And Hank looks at you, smiles, and says, "Yeah, I was watching it and got interrupted at the bar last night." And then you see the prompt that Hank's opinion of you goes down.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's almost like he's a nuanced character, and just kind of trying to suck up to him will not get you very far.
You know what's something similar? The opposite side of that coin, where it's like fun and nuance. If you check the news, this is like Schrodinger's public opinion. If you turn on the radio when you're driving to Canada or whatever, and you hear a news report about, androids broke into the cyber life, the public opinion will go down. But had you not turned on the radio, it would stay where it was. So it's like, come on, David Cage.
The public's opinion is contained to that one car.
Well, I mean,
much.
Don't unmute news programs on TVs.
Yeah.
Whoever you are.
Did you have any thoughts about the basically house of horror run by the Russian guy?
Zlatko.
And his big android friend Luther.
Big black android being a slave to Zlatko.
I knew that was going to end poorly because
the fat evil. All the evil characters in David Cage games are fat.
Oh my gosh. Just
the Private Eye from Heavy Rain, mean people in Beyond Two Souls who are overweight.
I did not believe that his claim that he was going to go in the basement with Kara to remove her tracking device. I did not believe that for a second.
Good on you.
It would have come up during Connor's investigations. So apparently androids do have tracking devices, but they stop functioning as soon as androids go deviant in universe. Even with that realization, there's no option I could find to like run out of the house. So I guess you just have to go to the basement.
Yes, this is, the game is on rails. You have to get reset and relearn to be a human, but android. Not the best mission in the game, but they make up for it because you get to unlock the bear.
That's right. The bear came in clutch for me with Zlatko. He had a shotgun out. He was gunning for me in the attic as I was trying to escape with Alice. But a android like polar bear that I opened a cage for took him out for a second.
Yeah. What else can you do? Oh, the defunct androids in his basement?
Yeah, they're like in shambles. They're like partially taken apart.
If you unlock those guys and they come to save you where the polar bear would save you, in the flowchart, it says unleashed the monsters. And it's like, are we supposed to feel bad for these androids? Why are you calling them monsters, David Cage?
Those guys came into play for me right outside of the house. I'd almost escaped, and then they arrive and kills Zlatko.
Gotcha. That's what happens. And then Luther automatically flips. When was his red wall break? Can you pinpoint it?
Not from memory, no.
I'm certain if we were playing this, you'd be like, maybe it's there. It's not clear. So the Zlatko house is not the best gameplay-wise. What am I trying to say?
It reminded me of the scene in Heavy Rain. There's another scene in a basement where some guy you go to for help then captures you and he was going to perform like a dissection of her while alive.
Yeah, he roofies Madison.
Yeah, Madison
is the character's name. Yeah, you can avoid going to the basement.
You can. Okay, so in some ways,
if you refuse to take a drink and you're very like assertive in your questioning, he can just give you whatever she's looking for, like the address, and you don't get kidnapped. But if you stay in the house too long, he does like chloroform you or whatever.
Got it.
And then the big fight scene happens.
Yes. So David Cage, big fan of creepy guys in basements.
Yes. Let's talk about one of my favorite scenes. Connor has to find out where Jericho is using the evidence.
I did like that scene.
Because sometimes you don't get it. You know how Marcus leaves a guy on the roof? Or did you get to that point? I think his name is Simon.
The whole inner circle of Jericho ended up surviving for me.
Okay. Because North is like, we should pop him in the head. And Marcus is like, no, we save him. But you can leave Simon on the roof and get the location of Jericho from him. But if you don't do that, Connor then goes into the police lockup and he has like 9 minutes. Go. And what happens, Chris?
I'm assuming because I was friendly enough with Hank, he gave me the keys to go in the basement to examine all the evidence.
Oh, you didn't have to guess the password?
I did have to guess Hank's password.
Yay. What a great character.
Effing password is the password.
Yeah. Isn't the evidence scene just so good?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. You're given like the corpses of several androids, deviants you had encountered over the course of the game. They're all in kind of a comatose state, but you can revive certain of them by swapping out parts in between them interchangeably, depending on what they need. And then there's the two you find in the nightclub. They ended up being like lovers. They were trying to escape together. In my game, I ended up shooting and killing them.
Yeah.
In order to convince one of them to give me the information I needed, I held up the head of her dead lover in front of her eyes so she would communicate to...
She's like, oh, I know a place where we can go. And then you held out your hand and download the location.
So that was a cool puzzle. And then that, like, the cop who really doesn't like you comes down and tries to grab you. But in my game, Connor took him out very smoothly.
We got to talk about, we can talk about North and how she's just like, got to kill everybody, got to have all the sex. We could talk about Amanda and how she's real but not real. We could talk about Kamsky and how he's just kind of, he doesn't tell you anything. He's just, oh, I'm so mysterious.
Here's what I'll say about North. I took like the more passive civil disobedient route to try to win people to my side for gaining rights for androids. And she was not about that. She would disapprove on almost every single one of my decisions. And yet, despite that fact, in this like 1 5-minute scene on a rooftop, she goes from like mildly disapproving of my actions as Marcus to then all of a sudden becoming a lover.
Lover is the prompt.
Yeah. She goes
That's
all the way up.
That's a David Cageism.
All the way up to lover after previously not being super warm to me. So
yeah. All the women just ooze onto the protagonist in David Cage games.
That was pretty jarring.
And the guys, if you played Beyond Two Souls, because you're playing as Ellen Page, the love interest is this guy agent who sends you on this like mission to Africa where you kill a supposed warlord, but he's like a democratically elected guy. And it's like, oh, I hate you, boy, love interest. And he always ends up following for you. So yeah, in Detroit, freaking North, just like, oh, I hate you because you're not killing all the humans. Let me touch your hand. And we're married now.
That's more or less what happened.
So let's just go over the details. You didn't get the concentration ending, camp ending.
Correct.
Did Marcus live?
Marcus is alive. All of the people you care about in Jericho are alive.
Did you kiss North, and that's what ended up winning over public opinion?
Yeah, 2 androids who met a day ago kissing is what swayed public opinion.
It's so stupid and campy.
Oh, yeah.
Did Connor blow up the ship and go to Cyberlife?
In my game, Marcus was the one who blew up Jericho.
Well, what did Connor do? Did Connor stay an android?
Connor went deviant for me. That was a cool scene with like Marcus trying to talk him into it. You have control of both characters, so it's pretty much up to you how that plays out, which kind of, I guess, like you have control of Marcus, who's confronting Connor. You also have control of Connor. So it's really up to you whether or not Connor goes deviant, I suppose. And I chose to make him wake up and kind of join Jericho's side. He went to Cyberlife to go to the basement because there were thousands of androids there and kind of like wake them all up. And upon arriving,
Hank is hostage.
Hank is hostage by another Connor.
Yeah.
Who I guess was masquerading as the Connor Hank knew. Because apparently there are multiple models of Connor.
Whenever Connor dies, he comes back as like next iteration. And the more you die, the more Hank becomes like unraveled. And he can like be so stressed that he just shoots you in the head.
Oh my gosh. My Connor never died, so I was not aware of that. So at this point, this other Connor is holding Hank hostage. He says, "Stand down, don't convert these androids or I'll kill Hank." I sacrificed Hank, despite my friendship level status with him.
Holy cow. I can't believe you.
Yeah, it was probably the most difficult decision I faced in the game. Then fake Connor shoots real Connor as well. But I managed to transfer my consciousness into the undamaged Connor's body and replace his consciousness into my shot body, and he ends up dying instead. That's was a little
crazy.
Unclear.
Okay.
That allows me to have some like final words with Hank, but then Hank is donezo. He's dead.
Dude, if you had let Hank live, the two Connors would get in a tussle. Hank grabs a gun and he's like, "Freeze." And then the two Connors look up at Hank and it's like, "Whew, that was a close one. Shoot him." And he's like, "Come on, Hank, we got to finish the mission." And they're both playing like, "It's me, Connor," you know? And then you have to, one against the other, guess what Hank is like, "One of you is my partner." And it's how well do you know Hank that determines whether you live or die. And it's one of the most exciting moments in a playthrough to see if you actually remember what Hank's dog's name is.
Sumo.
Yay, you would have lived. Well, okay, you would have gotten the second question, which is what is Hank's son's name?
I would have failed.
Yes, because when you visit Hank's house and you see he was contemplating suicide, that's what it's indicating, right? At the very least.
Right.
On the table in the kitchen is a framed picture of Hank's son, Cole, who, like I said, they got in a car crash. And the doctor that was supposed to save Cole's life couldn't operate because he was high on the android drug red ice. And then you have that revelation in the basement of Cyberlife, and Hank blows away the copy and lets you do what your thing is. And then Connor rejoins Marcus, and you have like this whole final scene with Amanda, the not real lady.
Right.
It's definitely the canon ending. By sacrificing Hank, it's like, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah, I definitely messed up there. I was able to awaken all the thousands of androids down there. And then as far as the conclusion to Kara's storyline, for me, Rose helps ferry Kara and Alice across the river to Canada. They have a boat.
They have a boat? What? I didn't know this.
Yeah, they have a boat. They ended up not going... We got to the bus station where we encountered Todd. And...
No way. I didn't know about this.
Okay, let me backtrack. Kara and Alice are trying to flee to Canada because... And there's apparently, as Heath pointed out, there are no androids there. So they can potentially be free.
And what's going on in Detroit?
Detroit?
What are the cops doing?
Oh, it's in a state of shutdown because...
Yeah, the cops are just blowing away androids in the streets.
Yeah, it's basically a purge for androids. They're just committing genocide. Androids are being rounded up and sent to concentration camps to be disassembled.
Is Luther alive in your playthrough?
Ooh, okay.
We gotta keep backtracking because I'm remembering more details.
So, Kara and Alice are sneaking through police-infested streets in snowy downtown Detroit to get to the last bus station, which is leaving at midnight for Canada. And
I already know what you're gonna
on
say.
the way, they see the police have rounded up a group of androids, and they're a firing squad. They're about to put them down.
That's a familiar face.
And that's a familiar face. It's Luther, our companion, who helped us get through all sorts of struggles.
All right, ready? I'm going to be Alice. Kara, we need to save him.
There's nothing we can do.
And then there's another prompt that it's like, no, Kara, we need to save him.
It's too late. Bam, bam, bam.
Oh my God.
That was the only time in my game Alice's opinion dropped on Kara.
Well, who gives a crap? We already know that she's a heartless robot.
Oh, yeah.
You can turn... Wait, okay. This is one of the... Like, I don't know how to feel about this. At the beginning of that mission where you're stealthing through the streets, you can turn Alice's cold feature off.
Right. You can make her immune. She will no longer feel the cold because she's talking to you about how cold she feels.
Right. And what is... Okay, so are you supposed to feel... How are you supposed to feel about that? Is David Cage saying, like, oh... You'll take care of the robot child, like, but like, I'm just really upset that it's like, screw you, robot child, making me think that you were real. Stay cold, bitch.
Wow, I interpret it as, do you want to end the needless suffering for Alice, or is turning the cold feature off in some way removing her humanity?
Yeah, and then I chose option C, where it's like, David Cage, thinking you're so smart. What is this option?
Yeah, I turned it off. I didn't see any reason for her to suffer.
Mm-hmm. But then doesn't the customs officer say, like, oh, she looks cold?
So I get to the bus station, and it's looking pretty bleak. They say
you step over Luther's corpse to get to the bus station.
Yeah, look him in the eyes as I do it. And there's an announcement, only ticket holders can get on the bus.
Oh, no. Okay, sorry. Isn't there an option where it's like, we could either go through the military gate, which is way faster,
right,
or we could risk it and just walk to the bus station?
And it shows you an estimated time of arrival for both routes. The safe way is like way longer. The short way is like 2 minutes, and you're on a deadline. Midnight, the last bus leaves. I took the long, safe way.
Oh, okay, because why I brought this up is... If you choose the short way, right, the officer's like, hold it, where are you going? And it's like, oh, Canada to visit my husband or whatever. And the officer looks at Alice and he's like, oh, she looks cold. We got to get her inside. And then if Luther's with you, Luther's telepathically telling Kara, he's gonna shoot us. We gotta, you kept that gun at the beginning of the mission. You gotta blow him away, Kara. And Kara's like, chill out, Luther. It's gonna be fine. And then in classic, it's like, all right, you're free to go. And you walk past the guard and the guard's like, hold it. And then Luther's like, shoot him now. And you have the option if Kara's like, no, just chill. You turn around, and it's like, oh, you dropped this, and it's just the friggin' passports that Rose gave you. But you didn't go that way. You went with the long walk, and you made it. But tell us what happens at the bus station.
So they say only ticket holders are going to be able to ride. I don't have any tickets. You talk to this mother.
Okay, ready? Yeah, we're going to do it again. Oh, man, I love this baby that I keep care of because I'm a human being. And it's so dangerous. Good thing I got my baby right here. Oh, look at my loving husband. Hey, I'm going to go walk over to you. Drops tickets.
Yeah. I'm Kara. That seems awfully convenient. I'm going to pick up this ticket. I guess we can
had him right here. No, I'm coming back in the scene. I don't know where they went. I had him in my bag, husband. Oh, geez. We gotta go to Canada. Things are crazy around here. Looking directly at Kara. Hey, did you see 2 tickets? They were right here.
Yeah, these belong to you.
Oh,
I handed them back.
No, you idiot.
I handed them back.
You were home free. What happens there? Oh, then you go to the boat. That makes sense.
So before the boat, then you run into Todd, who is also at this bus station.
Holy crap. I had no idea that was an option.
Yeah, I walked into this like obscure corner looking for other ways to escape, and then Todd pops out. He sees you. He grabs Kara by the arm, and he sees Alice. he calls for all the police officers to come. And he says, I have a deviant. And then I try to escape for a second. It doesn't work. He has too firm a grip on Kara. And then I try to appeal to his emotions, and somehow I get through to him.
Oh, that doesn't sound right.
I point out the fact that Alice is a robot and how...
Well, yeah, he bought her.
He purchased her.
What does he say? That's so important. What does he say?
I don't remember. He just... He agrees with whatever Kara said.
What?
Then the police officer arrives. Todd says there's been a mistake.
Yeah.
Alice gives Todd a hug, and then...
What the
And then we part ways.
What? Goodbye, abusive father. What? This is... Okay, that is actually the most broken scene in this game. Oh my god, Alice hugs Todd? What is this?
And then at that point, Rose's son arrives on the scene, whispers to you, and says, we gotta go. And you hop in Rose's car, and that she drives you to the river between U.S. and Canada. She has boats for you. You hop in the boat with Alice, and then the Coast Guard comes on through.
Hey, the best military branch.
They open fire with machine guns, gunning down androids. I decide to hide in the boat with Alice. We duck. They drive by. Everything is good. Kara stands back up, reemerges, goes, wow, that was a close one. You look down at Alice, and she's been shot.
Oh, who cares?
So she's bleeding out, and your boat starts to sink as well. So you have to choose things to throw off the edge of the boat. To prevent
I got a nice blue-eyed thing right here.
I didn't see a way to throw Alice off.
I would have paused the game and looked up a wiki.
Yeah. Unless I was missing something, I don't think you can throw her off.
Oh, that's so stupid. Well, no, that would be really cruel, but that's so funny.
Eventually, Kara throws the motor off, jumps in the water, and paddles with her feet to push you to shore. She's taking lots of damage from how cold the water is.
Oh, I imagine her HUD is probably going on the fritz.
Yeah. You make it to the shore. You crawl onto land with Alice. Alice dies.
Wait, when she dies, does she do a Microsoft?
No, she did not blue screen or anything.
Oh man.
And then, as Kara, you have the choice of whether or not to commit suicide.
Ooh, wow, this is just as dark as the concentration camp ending.
I chose to continue on, not kill myself. And then you see a car arrive on the scene, presumably to help out. And then
it's Rose's family, yeah.
Fades to black.
Why didn't Kara just turn off her sadness feature?
Good question.
That's so... Oh, man. I wish the Super Best Friends got that ending. That would have been so funny to hear their reaction. Thank you for telling me a part of Detroit Become Human I had not known about. Do you know what happens if you get on the bus?
I have no idea.
You go to Canada Immigrations, and you get in a line, and it's like, hey, we got to do biometric scans to make sure there's no androids in this line because we don't want any androids in Canada. And Kara's like, oh, crap, what do I do? You spot Rose in the other line, and she's like, go to the bathroom. And then you meet her in the bathroom and hug it out and are like, yo, whatever happens when we get into Canada, I'm going to take care of you. And it's like, great. We just got to get into Canada. You go back to your place in line. And Luther's like, hey, don't worry. I got you if he's still alive. Chris. And then Jerry, who we haven't talked about Jerry. Or did you just blow him away too?
Who is Jerry?
Oh, he's the collective conscious many androids that put Alice on the carnival ride.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, and they're like, we are Jerry. Jerry's a pretty cool character. He's like that Rick and Morty thing. you spot a Jerry in the line. And he's like, you helped us, Kara. We'll help you. So it's basically, kind of like how Connor is using all his evidence from other missions. Alice is using all her S-links to get into Canada. You get up to the border agent, and he scans your cold android body. And it's like, beep, beep, beep. He looks at a scanner, and then Kara's like, please. And Alice is there too. And what does the Canuck do? He looks at the television screen in border control, and depending on how well you did as Marcus, if you did the kissy, very peaceful public opinion, yay, love androids, then he lets Kara into Canada. If Marcus botches it and it's like, oh, dirty bomb detonated in Detroit, nuclear fallout, evacuate immediately, the guard is like, security, and then Kara and Alice get taken away. And you never see him again.
That is so funny that this Canadian Border Patrol agent is swayed by American public opinion on whether to let these androids in the country or not.
I mean, I can see that. That's not nearly as goofy as some of the other things that you said this episode.
That's true. There's a whole lot of goofy in here.
That was the ending that I saw. Overall, there's tiny drops of brilliance, whether it's the trash heap that Marcus rises out of, the menu lady who you can kill in the Kamsky test, whether or not you let her go, and whether or not you sacrifice Hank or sacrifice Luther. There's really good decisions to be made in this game. But then there's like goofy stuff where you can, I don't know, botch things. And it's what was I saying about like the other goofy things in this game?
We could be here all day if we recalled them.
Yeah. This podcast is probably going to be like 2 hours long-ish, but if you want to do a deep dive in this in Detroit, just watch any playthrough. You don't even have to watch Super Best Friends. Just watch any playthrough. What were you saying at the beginning of this? How you were entertained by it, but you didn't respect it?
Yeah, kind of. I said I enjoyed it a lot more than I respected it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The civil rights portion's nothing to write home about.
You want to wrap up Detroit talk now?
Well, you can hear me trying to, but I can't put a button on it.
All right. Then spoilers over at this point. Detroit Become Human.
What a game.
What a game.